such as you, and then a consortium of other representatives get them started, actually start making protests on behalf of us at Congress at what a violation of our Constitution is taking place right now with this health care bill and how it's being administered. Y'all are being asked to vote on bills that aren't even put together. One passed a Senate committee and it isn't even written. So my question is, why aren't y'all getting more active on the floor for us and standing up and hollering and start one by one making a bigger group for us?
You know the crazy thing, Bob, is we are. And the thing about Washington, you'll find out. For example, there's a bill that I've signed, that others have signed, that would require at least 72 hours between when a bill left committee and when it was heard on the floor. Okay? Now, there's probably 170 of us who have signed that bill. And I mentioned that to someone out there who was looking at that big stack, and she goes, it would take longer than 72 hours to read this bill. Well, that might be the case, but 72 hours is at least a place to start. Unlike the cap and trade bill where they came in with an amendment, 300 pages at 3 a.m., dropped it off, and we voted the next afternoon. But the thing about Washington is it's hard to make your voice heard. Now, if you ever see a crazy guy like me at 6 o'clock in the afternoon on C-SPAN when there's no one else in the building, talking to empty seats, and every now and then they'll show you all the seats are empty. And there may be 3 of us. Yeah. And somebody may be waving his arms, or someone else may be. That is our attempt. But when the President and the Congress are so dominant right now with the liberal wing, that is the message that you get out of Washington. That is a message that is amplified through the traditional mainstream media. That is the message. So there's actually a lot of that happening. It's just it's being drowned out by the wall of sound that's coming down through the President and Congress.
Right. You know, the last Rasmussen poll just recently shows that 54% of Americans are against any of the forms of legislation that's going on at the House or in the Senate right now. And only 35% seem to favor some sort of legislation that's going on. Just taking off that Rasmussen poll, which that represents America, what Americans want. What I'm suggesting and what my challenge now in that question is, why not one by one? I hear what you're saying, Congressman Cassidy, but we're here protesting, and we're doing it in a manner that our Constitution affords. Freedom of assembly, freedom of speech. But we want more activism out of our congressional representatives, such as you. I'm talking about not just on that floor for C-SPAN. I'm talking collectively, one by one, you gather together. Where are those conservative elements out there that's standing up and standing on the steps of Congress yelling what a travesty to our Constitution this is, and what a travesty this is. And Channel 9 and 7. When you're here, go down there with you. We will follow you. We will follow you. We will be right there behind you. I'll guarantee you, not only these people here, but tenfold these people will be behind you if you will do it.
A couple things. Jeff Liberty, isn't that a great name? Jeff Liberty and his son Matt went to Washington for the Tea Party. And how many people do you think were there?
At least 200,000.
At least 200,000. Do you know how much airtime that got in Washington, D.C.?
Way more.
Nothing. Nothing. So 200,000 people show up. And it gets almost zero airtime in Washington, D.C. Now, Bob, I promise you, if you pay attention, you're going to see folks doing in Congress whatever they can to draw attention to this in an appropriate way. But part of the challenge is, even when 200,000 people show up, and elected representatives go out there and speak to them, and physicians, I met with a group of physicians, they showed up. There is still a cone of silence sometimes that will not let that get out. How do we do it? Well, we have blogs, we have Fox News, which makes an effort to put it out there. We have email chains. We again speak to empty rooms at 11 o'clock at night because it's 9 o'clock at night in Los Angeles, and hopefully somebody in Los Angeles is seeing what we say. But part of the challenge of everybody in this room is to pierce through that cone of silence so that even 200,000 people are not ignored as they were ignored.
Well, we'll keep doing it, you just keep doing it.
I will too, man.